This is NewDay Saturday Edition, and the conversation goes on. Next up for discussion is the energy sector, where we hear that VRA's debt is to be restructured. Ongoing negotiations between government and the banks have led to what government describes as progressing towards a successful conclusion in that conversation. So we'll be looking at that. In a press release that was issued earlier in the week, we are given a sense of what that restructured package would look like. We'll be interrogating all of those issues there. But first of all, let me introduce Mr. Honorable George Low. He is MP for North Dai constituency, joined us, and also Honorable Kwabna Kokofu. He is the MP for Bantama constituency. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great. So we'll be looking at this issue. I want to start with you, Honorable George Low. Perhaps you could give us the current status, if you like, of this whole negotiations between government and the banks looking at restructuring the VRA's debt. The press release says that, government was pleased to announce that, I'm quoting, that it is progressing towards a successful conclusion in the restructuring of a substantial portion of the debts owed by the Volta River Authority, VRA. So clearly, I gather from this that it's not concluded yet, or it hasn't been concluded yet, but government seems positive about it. So what exactly is the situation?
Well, let me use this opportunity to say good morning also to our cherished viewers. Yes, government is in the process of reaching an agreement with the banks, as the press release has said. And, but more importantly, I think that there have even been some upfront solution issues, because we have been told that VRA is just about getting crude supply to it, so that Abuazi can come on stream and others. So yes, like the press release said, government is joining with the various banks and financial institutions, so that there is an agreement as to how we restructure and how they will continue to support the VRA into the future in terms of supplies of crude.
Very well, but before we even push further, could you just tell us exactly what the VRA's debt is currently to the banks? Because the number of figures around.
Unfortunately, I don't have my finance minister's permission to go into details.
Okay.
And I'm sure that if they wanted to go into details, it would have reflected in the press. I think that he doesn't want to, as it were, jeopardize the discussions that we're having. So I think that we should leave it at that for now. The thing is that...
Well, the press release actually does mention a figure. It's talking about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis, and this is both the CD and US dollar denominated components.
Well, you will know that the whole oil sector matter, issues of figures, is more like a banter. Yeah, so that's why I want to stay away from.
Very well.
I think that we should just allow the negotiations to go on. I'm sure among themselves they would come to conclusions that is binding on both parties.
Okay.
And then they can move it from there.
Yes, but before I move on to the others, I just want to what exactly is the objective of this restructuring?
Well, I mean, when you owe banks and you don't have the funds immediately to pay, what you do so that you don't jeopardize your future relationship, because the other option is that the banks will now call in this amount, and it could lead to many other things. For instance, they could suspend lending to all state institutions, and they could, so many things. So you need to give them hope that, look, yes, we have a program, to liquidate our debts or indebtedness, and therefore let's agree to terms. That is done across the financial spectrum all over the world, and so that is a purely business corporate issue. Government has moved in to sit with the banks to agree on terms going forward, what they are ready to pay immediately, how they restructure what is left, and moving forward, what the relationship should be like. So I think that's
very well. Mr. Jantua, looking at the press release, we're told eventually what the package would look like. So moving forward, this is coming from the government, so it's quite a credible piece of information. A rebate of 3.5% of the gross indebtedness of VRA to lending banks as at May 31st, 2016. So which in itself means that then there's going to be that benefit of a reduction in the total sum of indebtedness, if you like. Following that, they're going to have some reduction in the interest that's chargeable on the reduced loan or debt. And you're looking at, it says about from 32% to 22% per annum. And then on the dollar component, it's 11% per annum to 8.5% per annum. Now, looking at these things, they seem to be very good, if you like, beneficial. It would work out well for VRA. But I'm thinking, what's in it for the banks?
You see, Abna, for me, the outside impact is what is important, that these, things that they are putting forward would work. And the outside impact is the strength of the city. That is where we should look at. If the city falls, VRA would need more money to be able to do what they have to do.
Right.
And that goes into debt. And so the concentration of making the city strong is paramount to all these things happening. If the city is strong, then VRA has the wherewithal and the latitude to be able to import the light crude you're looking for, to import the heavy crude you're looking for, and to make sure that they have the strength to handle the energy sector, the power sector. With a city that is yo-yoing, going up and down, it creates problems for institutions like the VRA. So that is where the concentration is. And that is where government should concentrate on, to make sure that the city is strong, to make sure that the variance between the dollar and the cedi has a stable exchange value. Because if that exchange value is just jumping just like that, VRA will go back into debt. And at this moment in time, we can't afford VRA to go back into debt. We can't afford anything that has got to do with power go into debt. And so, for me, that is the key.
Great, but also aside the fact of the forex exchange issue, there's also the question about ECG's indebtedness to VRA itself, which is also an issue that we're grappling with. So even if you have, yes, the city stabilized, if you like, there's also that component in that value chain, which is ECG's inability to pay VRA, to make VRA self-sustaining or self-financing, which is also an issue.
And where is the genesis of that? The genesis of that comes from the fact that a huge majority of ECG debts is laden with government. Can government pay that to make ECG also have the wherewithal to pay the others? So that value chain ends up with government.
Yeah,
now,
let me just make a quick interview. You see, the value chain you're talking about, I think that is what feeds into the negotiation with the banks and, of course, the overall sector. You know that we now have the energy sector levies. Now, these levies, the projection is that over a period, this is how much we are going to regain. So it's based on those figures that you go into negotiation. The banks can see that having started collection, and all things being equal, by a certain period, you would have accrued so much. So when that happens, then you use that as your benchmark for restructuring and negotiation. I can assure my brother that when the finance minister did do these projections before Parliament, the intention is that, yes, these levies would come in and wipe some of these debts and even create some reserve for us to manage. So going forward, to get to a time when, like his fears are, VRA would stabilize and they will not go into further debt.
So when you say that the money's accruing to the energy sector levies account, for instance, will come in to wipe away some of the debt, is it coming in a substantial amount, or it's coming in trickles, as in
but
gradually?
You can do that because you know the percentages, and then you can project, you can do the projection and say that if we are collecting this so much taxes, this component of the levies is so much. So those are the guiding principles or the guiding benchmarks that you use to go into. So the banks for themselves can see a sheet where we are saying that we are projecting that by this time we would accrue so much. By this time we should accrue so much. By this time we should accrue so much. And I can assure you that even from the time that we pass those levies until now, substantial amounts are coming in. And so the banks can have the comfort of knowing that indeed, if this is the projection, then we can also look forward to this and use that
Very,
aspect
But just a quick one.
Yes, yes,
Look,
please.
the key is that
And then I will come
you
to
cannot continuously overburden the people of Ghana to be paying such levies. That's the key. We need to get to a point where it is not the burden of the people to make sure that when institutions go into debt, they have to pay. We need to be able to get to that point where the burden isn't on the people, because these levies is an extra burden on the people apart from the taxes that have been levied on electricity. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to go on.
Honorable is shaking his head in opposition to that.
Government is people. Government is not an individual sitting in Flaster House. You understand? So
But
when government is indebted, like we are talking about legacy debt, it's something that has been accrued over time, and it is, look, all the subsidies and things that
and so the people should pay.
It was enjoyed
No,
by the people.
but
So
then
basically,
the issue
yes,
about efficiency of
I
the
understand.
entities
Physical
themselves come
discipline. I
in.
agree and time.
It is
Right.
physical
I agree and time,
discipline.
but I'm saying
It's
that
physical
is the more
discipline.
reason why we are moving it this way. We are moving. The representative of the people, the Parliament of Ghana, has agreed with the minister. Says, look, let's put in this tax. It will help us do the moving forward. The problems that we have in the past will be resolved.
Dealt with.
Yes.
All right, Honorable Kokofu, your take on this issue. Moving forward, would this arrangement help VRA, and to what extent?
Yeah, good morning to your cherished viewers, particularly my people from Bantama constituency, and Nana Dankwa Kufuado, the flag bearer from the Patriotic Party. We're having a situation on our hands that seems not to be going anytime soon. Yet the president and his government continue to promise the people of Ghana. As we speak, as we sit here, the people of Ghana are paying huge electricity bills. We have, on countless occasions, come up to say that the whole problem boils down to funding, lack of funding, a sustainable way of funding the state institutions that produce and distributes electricity to the people. We've said that government owes ECG so much money, and ECG is indebted to a tune of 3.7 billion Ghana cedis. Then we have ECG owing VRA so much, and VRA is indebted of about $1.5 billion, part to Ghana Gas and other suppliers and co. And so it's a chain of reaction. Where does it stop and where does it come in? I think I agree with my senior brother when he talked about the fundamentals of the economic management. When you have your macroeconomic indices wrong, you have an inflationary spiral that has no end. When you have the deficit of your currency running like any other thing and you cannot control it, there you have a problem. However, we are looking at a situation where the government, through emergency power budgets and co, have sought to solve the so-called doom-saw problems. The president came to Parliament, the State of the Nation address, and told the whole nation that he has fixed the electricity problem. And here we are, 7 months into the period, and we are continuing experiencing and paying huge bills. I've told people on countless occasions, it is only Ghana that we are paying for darkness. We pay for darkness for absolutely no good reason, except incompetence in the management of the economy.
But Honorable, sorry to cut you.
No.
So government says, yes,
No.
to deal with the problem, we are starting off with this restructuring. Let's have VRA's debt restructured and all of that. And I'm asking,
Since
to
when?
what extent? Yes, I need you to focus on this, yes, the debt restructuring and how beneficial it is or it will be for the VRA moving forward, and if actually it would do anything at all.
We do not think the solution lies there. It has to do with knee-jerk reactions. Over and over, government knew of this problem, this liquidity situation that the institutions were going through. We have our own way of seeing how best we can fix it. If I may quote our sector, I mean, the
That will be going on to that, your proposal, yes, we'll be going on to that, yes.
So we do not see our way clear. The banks would not have or do not have confidence in the in the sustainability of such loan restructuring. However, if it works better for Ghanaians, let's see how it gets to. But we know that this try and error kind of management, the economy in general, and particularly the energy sector, is not going to help us. It's still killing Ghanaians.
Very well. Doc, your take on this restructuring?
It's an interesting and complicated topic in the sense that depending on how you look at it, this whole energy, VRA, ECG thing, it's quite broad. And I think for some time now, VRA has not been in the limelight. It's always been ECG. ECG owes, ECG is incompetent, ECG is going to be privatized. It's interesting that it's trickled down now to VRA, the main source. But you see, now let's try and look at the issues at least one by one. And I speak to it as a layman, not as an expert. We're talking about restructuring. When somebody says you are restructuring your debt, what does it mean? Restructuring of debt simply, from my understanding, is renegotiating your debt such that the critical reason is you need liquidity. That's what it is. I owe you so much to the extent that nobody is ready to what? To lend to me. So can we sit down and have some renegotiation so that at least I become a little bit credit worthy? That is the whole thing. So if government, as you are saying, is getting into restructuring, what it means is that government is renegotiating the bills that or the loans that VRA owes banks so that it can get the opportunity to go and lift crude from outside Ghana.
You mentioned something, Doc. You mentioned
yes.
something which is interesting here, and I would want us to explore that further. That it's to make, the idea of a restructuring is to make you credit worthy.
That's what
but here, let's look at VRA.
Yes.
So VRA becoming credit worthy, then it's able to go for more loans. And
that was what I was getting to.
How do we?
That's why I said the issue is more complicated than is being discussed. And it's unfortunate that people, excuse me to say, do not interrogate the issues from the logical point of view. I mean, it's just, people just speak to it. Because if what we are saying is that government is going to, government is trying to restructure the loan for VRA, it means government or VRA is trying to renegotiate how much it owes the banks and get it straight. Restructuring does not mean you are giving money. In fact, restructuring means that you owe, you can't pay, and now you do not have the liquidity.
Renegotiating your terms.
Yes, your terms of payment.
Yes.
So because you always have a threshold. When you owe to a certain level, nobody will borrow to you again. So maybe the terms can be renegotiated so that you'll be able to live to what crude. And that is very informing, Abner. It's informing in the sense that today, as we speak, we have challenges with electricity. The reasons that are given are abound. In fact, most of the reasons are deemed to be accidents and stuff like that. So if today we are talking about restructuring, then it means that there's something fundamental. What it means is that we don't have credit. We don't have credit to what? To go and what? Lift oil. But you see, let me give you something. When you go on the net, just type in Ghana. No, I mean, I'm a lecturer. I always believe in sources.
I know.
You type in Ghana and VRA. It says government bailout VRA 2.2 billion. Government bailout. When you say you've bailed out, what it means is that you've given. That's what it means. It means you've what? You've given. Again, when you search, VRA owes banks 4 billion cedis. I mean, a whole lot of things.
That's what I was asking. I was trying to get that from
you,
the but I get it.
You get a whole lot of...
Because a number of figures are being thrown around.
A number of figures, a number of bailouts, you see, the simple thing for me as an ordinary Ghanaian is that I think VRA will have to be open to the good people of this country. Because I use VRA because VRA is the generation source of power. If VRA is not able to generate power, it cannot transfer to GridCo. GridCo cannot transfer to what? ECG. You understand what I'm saying? They have to be straightforward with this. What is the situation with them as we speak? What is being done about it?
The situation is that they are highly indebted and they're trying to restructure it. And we are now interrogating how that restructured arrangement will be beneficial or fix any problem.
Openi talks about the strength of the city being one way or the other, I mean, the panacea to solving this problem. The reality on the ground is that the city will be strong if we have energy. If we have energy, there's productivity. If you have productivity, you're able to export. So in fact,
so now we're going to chicken and egg situation.
So
we will solve this problem.
Let me finish. So in fact,
so is the macroeconomic indices you're talking about?
Well, let me get there. So if that's why I started by saying I speak as a layman. Macroeconomic indices are economic terms. I'm looking at it from what the productivity point of view. But you see, there have been certain proposals that have been put in place. One of them being the MPP proposal, where they are talking of setting up a, I don't know the term, that's
a statutory body responsible for liquidity management.
Responsible for liquidity management. You see, the fact of the matter is that even though this is a proposition that is being given, and I think that proposition is welcome within the context of what the debate that we are having, debate based on issues, debate based on what proposals, so that people can counter them. I think that will not be a panacea to solving the problem. Why? Today, as we speak, 56% of energy generated in this country is coming from hydro. 56. You can check. Hydro.
I thought it was less. I thought we were using more thermal now.
No. I'm telling you, check. As it stands now. Thermal is about 40-something%, notwithstanding all the... I mean, Akosombo alone, if Akosombo is at its full capacity, if Bui is at its full capacity, you understand what I'm saying? And today, these ones cannot function. They cannot function because of what? The realities of nature. We are using thermal about 44%. What it means is that, Abna, we need to import crude. So if you are saying you are getting something like an agency to deal with this in terms of money and stuff like that, yes, it is welcomed. But the reality on the ground is that it's not as if we don't have the generation capacity. We do, but they cannot what? Produce. That is the fact. They cannot produce because of what they are. You understand? Beyond that, Abna, the truth of the matter is that I think moving forward, we need to ask ourselves, and I think you asked that question slightly, how did we accumulate all this debt as a country? We say government. I don't say it's government. It's Ghana's debt. It's the country's debt. We hear that government owes ECG this man. No, it's not government that owes. It's Ghana that owes. How did we get there?
Who represents Ghana?
No, nobody represents Ghana. There's no representation of Ghana.
At the end of the day,
Ghana has been given the mandate
No, let me finish.
You please go on.
Let me finish. Honorable, when I finish, you can ask me. When I say Ghana, what I'm saying is that, yes, at the end of the day, this country owes this much. I'm asked to pay through legacy debt. Do you understand what I'm saying? Today, we are being told that about 2.2 is being given to offset the debt. When the debt is offset, what is being done to prevent the future recurrence of this debt?
And that's where I was going with the thing about ECG. Because here's the situation. You're looking at VRA being the power producer, power generator.
Sure.
It sends to grid core ECG and then to consumers. Typically, or ideally, the situation should be consumers pay ECG.
That is what
ECG is able to pay VRA. And then you have it. But here's the situation that is in the case.
No, that is why.
So you have challenges, fundamental challenges with the entities themselves in their ability.
That is why I said that we need to have a serious interrogation of how this debt was
So to
accrued.
what extent would this restructured arrangement
I'm coming.
do anything? I'm coming.
Let me land very quick, then you come. Honorable will say that it's as a result of what? The incompetency of the NDC.
No place of government. And you made a fundamental mistake.
Honorable, please let him land and then you please allow him to land.
Let me land and you come.
Please land, briefly, yes.
So what I'm saying is that we need to what? We need to find out how did we accrue the debt. Did we accrue the debt as a result of incompetence, as is being touted by what? By the MPP?
Let's just look at perhaps inefficiencies
or whatever it is. So once we are able to know the cause of this debt, then we'll be able to what? To put some bricks on it.
So exactly my point.
What is the cause?
Honorable, yes, please.
We must be honest with ourselves and with our viewers and people of Ghana. We have a government in place.
Yes.
Ghana, yes, is a sovereign state. At any point in time, there must be a government.
Sure.
That is why the president is all around saying he's accounting to the people. Otherwise, all Ghanaians must be moving on.
Yes.
I have a document here that talks about performance in 2008, the Energy Ministry.
What's the title of the document?
It is the budget estimate presented to Parliament by Dr. Kwabena Dofo in 2009 when they assumed office. And he was talking about the energy situation performance in 2000. He touted J. Kufuor's government about solving the energy problems and recounted paragraph 405 up to 414. With your permission, I may read some point to you.
Briefly.
Yeah, he said, Madam Speaker, as part of measures to address the power crisis in 2006-2007, which lasted over a year, government supported expansion of power generating capacity. And he goes on. And he comes on to talk about, we will continue to produce up to 5,000 megawatts. So where are we? You took over 2009, a power generation system, energy system, that had undergone some crisis and come out of that. And the key to you were all these projects and all those things. And you had a roadmap to follow it up to 5,000. And then it talks about producing power at a reduced cost. Now we have power shortages. We are paying so much for power. Do you know that we are importing about 180 megawatts from Ivory Coast? Yes, at a cheaper rate than what we produce in here. So fundamentally, management has been a problem. Inefficiencies and incapacities of the institutions and the government itself. The buck stops at the government. Once you come into government, our system is one of winner takes all. So you have state institutions all be key to you. It is for you, the government, your policies that directs which way the institutions go. Failures are at your doorsteps. That is why the president was bold enough to come to parliament to tell us he has fixed the doom saw because he thought his government has done what needs to be done. Now the problem is in our faces, and we are trying to push the blame elsewhere. It is the government that has failed the people.
I found it interesting because Honorable have not differed from me in my submission. What I said was that the debt at a stand.
Relax. You don't want us to blame the government.
No, that's not what I said.
You want us to blame Ghana.
I think it's about semantics here. I think it's a game of semantics.
I'm saying that the debt of this country of ECG is Ghana's debt. That is what I'm saying.
Of course.
I did not say Ghana created the debt
stock of the country.
So why are you different?
Yeah, the development, the incompetence.
We are talking of the cost. I'm saying that the debt at a stance now is Ghana's debt.
Yes,
isn't that the case?
We could do better with proper management, with proper policies.
I don't
that is fine.
Of that.
Point well made. I move on to Mr. Jantua. You had a reaction.
If the debt is Ghana's debt, somebody has to be able to make sure that that debt is paid.
Sure.
And who is that somebody? The government that has been voted into power by the people. Now the question is, has government been able to make sure that the fiscal discipline with the revenues that we have been put in place?
But Mr. Jantua, I'm
let me
surprised.
finish.
You will come in, please. Yes.
It's the government's responsibility to make sure that the way the debts have been accrued and the way these debts are being paid, it's their responsibility to do. And they, as the president is going around accounting the people, need to account to us, as they have just said to us that 2.2 billion Ghana cedis is going to help to offset some of the debts of VRA. But then, in creation of those debts, how did that come about? For me, from what I remember, most of it came about when VRA was spending nearly $3 million a day to bring in crude because of the energy crisis. Now, the question I always say is that these two parties, MPP and DC, we have had this, well, CPP, we haven't been in power.
In the past,
we haven't been in power in the past. And when we were in power, where energy was concerned, we realized that it was the stay of Ghana's industrialization. So what did we do? We did the Volta Dam, which were irrespective, because we knew the population would grow. And so we brought in the Akosombo Dam. Even the Akosombo Dam, we didn't expect it to last the length of time it's last. So what did we do? We brought in an atomic reactor. We were going to start the Bui Dam because we were thinking ahead. These two parties that have been in power for the last 30 years, have they been thinking ahead where energy is concerned? That is where we are where we are today. Because Dumso didn't start with NDC today. Dumso started with Jerry Rawlings' time, all through check. Any step of the way that we've had governments in power for the last 30 years, we've had Dumso. So the question I then ask is that, where is the plan for a long-term solution to our energy problems? Where is that plan? The emergency, the emergency badges and things we brought in is fine, but it's for emergency. And I would have thought,
but it's also
side by side, bringing in the emergency, you would have put together a long-term plan for power. And in putting that together, it's not only the ruling party that should be part and parcel of it. We cannot politicize power. Let us have a consensus of all stakeholders and political parties to sit down to put that plan in place, so that when governments change, there's continuity where power is concerned. Because power is the mainstay. I keep saying, we are sitting here today. If the light goes off, no TV, no discussion, forget. That should tell us the importance of power today. And hasn't Obama said it? The US wasn't a country that was strong in solar. Go to the US today. They are very strong where solar is concerned. Africa, Ghana for that matter, do we not have sun? Do we not have abundance of sunshine? These governments that have been in power since '92, what have they done where solar is concerned? They should tell us. We have an University of Science and Technology. Have they been able to make sure that the University of Science and Technology are innovating and bringing out, panels and solar equipment? Have we been able to do that? No.
Well, let me throw in something here to make it more murky. Issue about nuclear sources, because that is also on the drawing board.
We can't even handle
a case of bullet alone.
We can't even handle a case of
bullet. We need to understand all this, and I think that we are all saying the same thing from different angles and confusing each other. Look, the issue is very.
I'm not confused.
The issue is very basic. Look, we've had energy challenges over a period of time. I'm happy that he concedes that. Look, for the past 30 years or so, we've had this problem. For me, that is not an issue. Problems would come. Other governments across the world have problems in different sectors of their economy. We have an energy crisis. Fine. For me, what we should be more concerned about, are we taking steps long-term to resolve them? My big answer is yes.
But also be concerned about the short-term measures.
Because the short-term measures... Take your time. You see, when the matter started, we realized that it was because in building our institutions, initially we just built one institution, VRA, and then later on electricity company, which was handling all the different aspects of power generation and power distribution and all that. So the NPP came to government and they thought that the smartest way was to delink. So now they brought in Gridco to take a certain aspect of the distribution. And then the ECG would be
the distribution.
Yeah.
And then the northern.
And then they brought the Netco and all those things. Has that solved the problem? In one way, yes. At least we now know where to do the segmentation and look at where we are where we have challenges and where we do. I mean, how we should look at our challenges. Now, the other thing is that we all agree that over time, indebtedness in the power sector has been one key issue. It has had to do with TOR, it has had to do with VRA and all that. How we bring in crude, and we saw that a lot of our, we needed so much foreign exchange to bring in crude, and therefore our CD was suffering, like he said, and all that. So what did we do? Immediately, we came into power in 2009. We wanted to fast-track gas because we thought gas was cheaper and was going to improve the system. So, what's it called? Etuabo came on stream. Now, if you look at all the power sector agreements that we are bringing in terms of even oil fine and everything, our focus is on gas because we realize that we have more gas and we realize that gas is 30% cheaper and therefore it will reduce the pressure on the CD and things like that. But we are in the short-term period where we thought that what we do, because hydro is not giving us all the capacity that we want, we thought that, okay, quickly, let's do Tuabwe, let's do Boise and all that. So we even reconfigured some of our machines to take the gas But obviously, there still are challenges. And obviously, the delinking that we did has not crystallized properly. So we are looking at all that. Then, as a result of all these things, since at the height of the energy crisis, VRA had to bring in regular crude to make up for the shortfall. What did the minister do? We went into discussion, and then the decision was, okay, why don't we introduce a levy to take care of the legacy debts, the monies that we owe, so that at a certain point in time, we'll stabilize. When we do stabilize, gas, all the thin field and others would have come on stream. So you had a lot more gas, you know, regular supply. We could even now decide to jettison Nigeria and rely on our own gas, and if possible, give other countries some. So there's a long-term plan. So the plan issue is not the fact is that all the issues will not crystallize in a year or in 1 day. In the short term, I admit, in the short term,
but that's why
there are unexpected things that are happening. With what is it called? FPSO challenges and all that. You know, we didn't anticipate those things. They've come in, they brought in more problems. We've got some shortage in capacity in terms of generation and things like that. Okay. We need to resolve those things, but we must keep our eye on the long-term solutions. And that is what my brother is talking about. Because if we bring all the political parties, even then, we would have solutions in the long term. Now, I don't believe that anybody has said at any point that don't bring it. Remember that when the power minister even set up a power sector restructuring system, it was Weku Bobe who was supposed to chair. He doesn't come from the ruling party. It just tells you that wherever we believe we'll get ideas, people are being brought on board. But I agree when we were, and I say that let's look at it as Ghana's problems. The moment you want to segregate and say, oh, NDC government incompetence and things like that, we are not resolving the
I think we are looking at it.
Let's look at the way we all are trying to resolve this issue. The challenges are there. Occasionally, we will have them. But for me, we should all help in stabilizing
these challenges
the system.
seem not to be occasionally. They seem to be persistent.
Yeah, and I agree perfectly. It's a problem, a challenge that we all have to come on board. I agree, but I have some difficulty. I have quoted a document that is coming from the ruling government as at 2009 when they took over power. My brother talks about since 1992 governments that has come. Yes, of course, NDC have been in power for 60 years. We have been in power for 8 years. So if there are blames to be shared, they take the larger, bigger blame.
There we go again. And this is what Honorable George Lowe is saying. Let's not necessarily...
And then going forward, I've said the finance minister himself, representing the president, gave an account of what president...
So you're saying he acknowledged something that was done by the previous government.
And then he said, he said, outlook for 2009. You were talking about plans. There had always been plans. The NDC coming into office knew what they wanted the energy sector to run for the people of Ghana. So here, they put it. Paragraph 419, power subsector, with your permission. Madam Speaker, the key elements of the government's energy for growth agenda for the power sector are I. Increase power generation capacity to 5,000 megawatts in the medium term. II. Add capacity at the transmission and distribution levels. I3. Open up the subsector to independent power producers and private participants. Blah, blah, blah. The final one says, reduce the cost of electricity production to achieve lower tariffs. These are standards the government itself set for itself. I mean, the government set for itself, so they can take Ghana through the energy runnings. 8 years on, since 2009 up to this point, we haven't reached these targets. So are they not failures of our own plan, a plan we put in place, policies that we wanted to do? At the end of the day, we are unable to do. So don't we call it inefficiency, incompetence? You can't run your own system. You can't put your own plans into a proper implementation.
Very well. So,
it is not saying, I mean, not any of us said so for the government.
This is it. So your concern is with the government admitting that, yes, is
that
what you want?
Yes.
Good. So fine. We are moving on. How do we get the problem solved? Because
yes, we have a solution.
To get the government to admit will not necessarily solve the problem.
We have the solution. or at least we have the suggestions. If you give me the permission. As per our sector, energy sector,
Committee.
Committee, Mr. Ejaku, who is the head of the committee, we have proposed that there will be a regulatory body that will take care of the liquidation. This one is akin to a body that says, yes, VRA, ECG, oh, so much here. Let us consolidate the legacy debt. Let us consolidate. Let us find a way of paying them off. So the sector agencies will be on their own and they will be sustained in terms of credit. So they can go in for the crude, the light crude and all those things. They will be able to pay their suppliers and all kinds of things. You see?
Now, how would they be able to pay their suppliers? So
the body, you see,
what is the body going to do? What powers would the body have, for instance, that the ECG as it stands now doesn't have? Or the VRA as a statutory, as a state-owned enterprise doesn't have?
Take an example of the central bank. The central bank has the powers and the authority to regulate the banking sector. So money is coming in, exchanging hands here and there. It is being regulated. So a proposed statutory body that will be looking at the energy sector will make sure that all the debts that are being owed by these institutions will be liquidated and then set off. Yes, you see, we have this levy they are talking about. And we have...
You mean the energy sector levy?
Yeah, the energy sector levy. And do you know that every 100 Ghana cedis electricity that you pay, 34.5 Ghana cedis goes to the government. Yes, it goes to the government. So it's a matter, this body will fence off. They will make sure that kind of money is there, is put there to take care of all these debts and all that. As we stand today, all the taxes and the levies we are paying goes into the common pool, goes into the consolidated fund. But
there's an account specifically set for the ESL. Isn't that what it is, Honorable George Law? There's a specific account set for the energy sector levies, the taxes coming in. So it's not necessarily going into the consolidation.
No, so what is it? What is it? Are we using them?
That's what they're saying in the press release. That's what I was going to go there. That 50% would be used.
You must get things right. You must get things right. Things are getting worse and worse, moving from worse to worse. And what the government has been doing is not adequate enough.
But you're proposing about a statutory body too. It's not clear for me.
Well, it is not, because give us the opportunity to be in government and you see how...
But perhaps you need to sell it first. You need to sell it.
You want like
you need to sell it first.
Yes, of course. Give us the authority today, and tomorrow you're going to have sustained...
Tell us how you're going to
subvert the constitution.
Tell us how you're going to do it now.
No, please, yes.
You're not going to...
Dr. I think it's interesting. Interesting in the sense that a number of statements have been made. And let me start from one or two that Openi made reference to. And that has been, the reference point for most people, that electricity should not be politicized. I disagree. Electricity should be the bedrock or the fulcrum around which the 2016 campaign should revolve.
Yes, yes, it's true.
It's been made an issue.
Please, I agree. I agree. It is a campaign issue. Please let him take the president out of power. The people of Ghana, and we are in this mess, we are in this crisis because of incompetence.
Honorable, please.
And inefficiency in the management.
Don't go
on. Why do I say this? I mean, we've all agreed that electricity or energy is the bane for productivity. In fact, it is supposed to be the foundation for the strength of the city. Where you have a country where you have sustainable energy supply, definitely there's going to be productivity and there's going to be economic progress. So if we have two major political parties, the NDC and the MPP, I, as an independent voter, I'm going to listen to their proposals. What do they say? What are they going to do? And based on that, who is convincing is the one that I'm going to vote for. So if today the NDC have had the opportunity to be in power for 8 years, and we still have challenges. We still have challenges. I think the blame should be placed at the doorstep of what? The NDC. There's no doubt about it. That said, I also want something that is convincing from the opposition.
Okay.
Something convincing. And that is where, when I started my submission on this issue, I indicated that, look, it is refreshing to hear the NPP come out with what? A policy that we are going to set a statutory body responsible for regulating what is going on today. So the question that you asked, and I think it's a legitimate question, what is happening now? Do we have a regulatory body? Do we or not?
Regulatory
again,
body?
No, again, you see, this whole issue is not about regulation, it's not about all this thing. For me, this whole issue is cash and carry.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the bottom line.
Aren't we complicating a very simple
issue? It's cash and carry. We are depending heavily on thermal. And that is why I indicated initially that, look, 56% of our generating power is coming from hydro, and it's dormant. Today, we are dependent on thermal. Thermal, you need fuel to what? To power it. Where are you getting the fuel from? You need money. It's simple as that. So if you are coming to convince me that I should vote for you, you have to tell me how you are going to get money to buy the fuel, to power the thermal, so that it becomes what? Cheaper. It's as simple as that. So Honorable, let me. No, it's as simple as that. And that is the fact. You understand? And you see, the point is, people fail to understand that, yes, I will be paying for electricity. Honorable Kokofu will be paying for electricity. But people fail to understand, we pay in cedis. We don't use cedis to go and buy crude. We use dollars.
So we are going back to the macroeconomic issue.
Not only stabilizing your currency. Stabilizing your currency is important, but you need to make sure that what? You have forex. You need to have forex. You need to be able to export to what? To accrue forex. If you are not exporting and you are heavily importing, you understand? You have all these foreign banks. They come in, they change the money into what? Into forex.
So transforming the economy.
I think
that is it.
I will go back to and Mr. Janto, I need you here. I'll go back to the issue about making the entities in the value chain efficient.
Because efficiency means they just need money.
No, but
they just
whether or not, but then you're looking at cash flows to them.
Yes.
How they are able to rake in funds that they are entitled to in terms of service delivered.
And that is why
that's where we are. So if that's why I'm going back to this question. If VRA's debt is restructured and VRA is not able to get its money back from ECG,
yes,
what happens then?
You see, that is
we still go back because see, let me read something here in the press statement. I think the tenor of this press statement is suggesting that the objective really is to make the VRA's balance sheet look attractive. And when it looks attractive, then yes, they can go borrow more money. But if you're borrowing more money and you're not able to repay, then it goes back to we are in the same situation.
So that is why I said that, look, this whole issue about, of late, there have been this doomsaw. I mean, when I start experiencing doomsaw in my home, it means Accra is bad. Because I live in the outskirts of Accra, Central Region, and we usually don't get doomsaw when it's even wet. But of late, I started getting doomsaw. What it means is that, at the end of the day, there's something fundamentally wrong. We don't have crude to power the thermals. And the excuse has been that because of accidents and all this. Yes, maybe they are true. But based on this press statement, it shows that there's something fundamentally wrong, which is VRA or government or whatever, VRA specifically, their credit books are not good. They don't have liquidity. They are not credit worthy. You understand what I'm saying? What is the cause? Because they owe a lot. And my point is that, does government have the money to pay? Based on what we've read in the news, that 2.2 billion is being released from what? From, what do they call it? The levies and stuff like that. That will cushion the situation, and that will temporarily halt the doomsaw. But moving forward in future, how are we going to purge ourselves of the accumulation of these debts? That is what I need to know from government, and most importantly from the opposition.
Not of course, the other way around.
Honorable, please. Let me come to Mr. Janto. Most
importantly from the government.
Honorable,
no, you want to remove them.
Okay, very well. Let me come to my right side here. Mr. Janto.
Okay.
Or you don't get my point.
No,
Mr. Janto.
When I get my time.
We're looking at the energy sector and the issue about the VRA debt restructuring issues therefrom. Honorable Kokofu, you had wanted to make a submission?
Yeah.
Please, yes. We'll need to be wrapping up on this conversation.
I think gradually we are coming to the conclusion that it's about money matter. Doc put it rightly, cash and carry. and that one is akin with the NDC government. Yes, cash and carry, money matters. There once upon a time, barrel of crude was selling on the international market at $147 per barrel. We had a government in place which was able and capable of purchasing light crude to power our generators. Now, how much is crude on the market? I think it's less than 60. I don't know how. No,
47.
47. And we have a government in place that is unable to purchase crude to power the same generation. And again, back to the document, praising J. Kufuor's government, the MPP government, for having done so much during the 2006-2007 power crisis. So, what do? We do not have money. VRA owes. Government or people of Ghana owes. So we do not have money. Where is the money? The backstops are the government. It is the government that is running the... And Mr. Jantua rightly said, fiscal policy. And when we ran to IMF, I remember President was in Parliament, and giving reasons to why we went to IMF, he said, we are going to seek fiscal policy credibility. So, the President accepting and confessing that we lack fiscal credibility, fiscal policy credibility. Fiscal indiscipline in the system have resulted in all these things. And it feeds into the general economic management. I've told you, when you run in an economy that is based on propaganda and you leave realities on the ground to the dogs, this is where you get it. When we were in serious crisis, we talked about the running down of the city. The government, instead of sitting down, building consensus, proper consensus to find solutions, the government ran to Senchi and said they were going to seek homegrown policies, what kind of things. And we are back from Senchi 2-3 years now, and here we are. We are still where we are because we are unable to confront the problems and the challenges as they come. We only throw things about, and we walking around, the president accounting to the people and refusing to talk about pragmatic efforts and solutions to this energy crisis. So if we all agree it is about money matters, we cannot buy the crude, we ask ourselves again, where is the money? Ghanaians pay taxes. The easiest and the laziest way of running an economy, funding an economy, is by overtaxing and the people. Tax burden and all kinds of things. Very soon we'll be taxing something else. Yes. Very soon you'll be taxing something else.
Very well. Yeah. Thanks for that. Mr. Jantua, your take on this, moving on. So the VRA debt is restructured. We get that leeway, if you like, some relief to make payments. After that, what? How sustainable?
If you permit me to also make my comments on the MPP's suggestion of the statutory body.
Sure.
For me, it's just another parastatal.
Is another what?
Parastatal. Okay. It's another parastatal where we would have to find money to make sure that they run. And let me drill down.
You'll find the money.
Let me drill down. How will you find the money?
How?
Let me drill down.
How we're able to buy $147 per barrel. We found the money to do that.
Please allow Mr. Jantua.
Let me drill down to Let me drill down to their reasons. And if you permit me,
sure, go ahead. I'm
reading a statement by the chairperson of the MPP's Campaign Sector Committee for Energy, on Mr. Boache Jakom. He explains, and I quote, he explained that the statutory body responsible for liquidity management system, which is one of the numerous reforms lined up to fix the power sector, would collect, will collect all electricity bills and pay all stakeholders their share through a cascading waterfall system. According to him, the same body would also be responsible for disconnection of defaulting consumers, and this would ensure that all government institutions pay their electricity bills. Is that not a repetition?
It is.
A repetition of what?
Is that
the
not
ECG's functions, really, what it is?
It's a repetition
of everything.
And if it so happens...
Repetition of what?
Please, let me finish. Let me finish making my point. And if it so happens that the government succeeds in bringing this
The private-
management
the private sector participation into
company in,
ECG,
where
what
does
becomes-
where does
exactly.
this place? Look, the MPP should give us real solutions.
Oh, God of mercy.
Let the
It's not entitled to give real solutions. You sitting on the
Honorable. You are seeking to come in.
I have just
You are seeking to come in.
So you don't want to come to government.
Listen.
You don't want to come to government.
Honorable, please. Allow Mr. Johnson.
Let me say something here. The MPP cannot compare themselves where energy is concerned to the CPP.
So what is your solution?
Very well.
Talk about your solution. If CPP has done so well for the energy, what is your solution?
Honorable, you raise your point. Allow him.
So what is your solution?
What is your solution? To go on.
What did
Mr.
we
Jantua,
do?
just make your
What
point.
is your solution?
No, Honorable, please.
I'm gonna ask him to
Allow
put down
No,
his
he's critiquing your proposal.
I agree.
Which he is entitled to do.
Exactly.
Let him do that, and then
A solution would be a mix.
A mix?
A mix of all different types of energy generating power.
God,
so let me give you an
Honorable,
example.
please.
One of the major areas where we find indebtedness in electricity is the expansion into rural areas, because they do not have the wherewithal to pay for the electricity. So what
you
do-
stop that.
Wait,
So you stop that.
Have you looked at their consumption?
You stop rural
Please.
whatever the consumption
Let
rate
him land.
is, whatever the consumption rate is.
So I'm a
We-
promo.
wait,
I'm a
wait,
promo.
wait. Honorable, please. Let him
me
land and then
finish. Let me finish. Where the rural areas are concerned, we would rather have solar with microgrids, so that at least, if for nothing at all, they don't have to pay for generation and all that kind of stuff. They are getting power from the sun.
So that would be more like a
Now,
long-term.
but they don't consume
It's
that
part
much.
of the plan.
Mhm.
It is part of the plan. Whether it's short, it is part
It's
of the
part of
plan.
the plan.
Now,
Ultimately, that's the idea.
That amount of energy that we save in taking the rural areas, we look at industry, we look at the urban areas, and we look at exporting some of that energy. The reason for exporting that energy is to be able to have revenue come in and reinvest in the power sector. That money would not go anywhere. It would come directly into the power sector. So if you tell me that you're creating another statutory body to take care of collecting, what is that statutory body going to do? It's a repetition of all what the institutions are doing. So if that is the case, ban all those other institutions and let this institution take charge of it.
But speaking,
Efficiency.
Honorable,
You'll be
speaking about that,
putting
that statutory body, I think there's precedent to that. ECG was once a statutory corporation, Electricity Corporation of Ghana, and was pretty much doing what you were saying or what you're proposing the statutory body would be doing. But we realized that ECG, when it was a corporation, wasn't able to carry out its functions, if you like.
Yeah.
So if you're learning from history, then
One of the major problems with ECG has been the bill collections and all those things. You agree with me?
And which is why there's, plans are really far advanced to get private sector participation into the ECG to address this problem, which has been a long-standing issue, the problem about ECG's efficiency or otherwise on collecting revenue. So that's where Mr. Jantua, I think, was coming with when he said, assuming that arrangement materializes, where would this statutory body, where would it fit in the scheme of things?
Yeah, it's all. The statutory body, what you're talking about is a complete private entity. The statutory body will be a state entity, a state-run entity. That will be sourced or resourced enough to be efficient in its running.
Again, resource.
Many
You're
a
talking about operational expenditure
Exactly.
already.
You want to expend money.
No, you see, if you are well resourced, what does the private entity does?
But this is not going to be
efficient.
This is not a private entity.
I'm coming. The private entity puts in enough resources to ensure efficiency in its running. And if you want a state entity to do so, you need to resource it. and then make sure.
But it's interesting, you know, for coming from the New Patriotic Party, I don't know how this even fits into your ideology.
It does not
as
matter.
A private,
it does not matter.
sector-driven,
it does not
forming
matter.
another statutory body
It does not matter.
pretty much duplicate what is already.
What has ideology got with social intervention
Strengthen
policy?
those institutions that are already there.
Very well.
Strengthen
I need to move on to Honorable George Lowe now. We're wrapping up on this conversation. I would want to have your last take, but also, importantly for me, I want you to touch on, you know, back in June, government announced that, yes, there were plans to go source money, $2 billion in bonds to offset the legacy debt. So if this restructuring works out as is being proposed, would we still have that proposal on the table to consider? Well,
you realize that, let me start from Honorable Kukufu first. I mean, he's been making some very interesting statements as to they were buying crude at $147.
They are facts.
He forgets that we've had energy crisis all the way to 2008. And
no.
So, please, don't
Honorable, please let him finish.
Please. So, I mean, I don't see where he's coming from. Secondly, he should tell us on this program that when NPP was in power, VRA was not indebted to anybody, to any bank, and that they had paid up to the last penny for all the crude that came to VRA. I mean, let's be candid in this country.
Yes.
So that is a no-no area.
And I don't think, yes, I don't think that is even...
No, I'm saying that is a no-no area. So nobody should sit on a program and deceive Ghanaians. At the time they were buying, at the time they were in power, you know, they were buying crude and they paid for it. If you are buying crude on credit, it's just accumulating. It's accumulating, and we have had now to pay some of that bill. So they should be mindful when they talk about that.
No,
please,
you read it.
I will move on to that, but let me finish. Yes,
please, you
read it.
He's holding very tightly to this document, please. We will get back to it, but Honorable, please carry on.
Let's come back to it. We are talking about a very complex issue in the energy sector. You see, and the solutions that confront us now is not a one area solution, but we are trying to do a mix.
A combination of
all. I mean, Mr. Jantua talks about solar as an alternative. Yes, we've looked at solar, and it clearly shows that solar would come to us at a huge cost, but in the long term, it's more manageable. You remember that government is talking about getting micro solar programs for about 10,000 households and small shops and things like that. So it's also in the pipeline. The renewable energy, this thing of the Ministry of Energy is working at that. In actual fact, the Energy Commission itself is starting some pilot solar projects across the country. So solar, yes, we are looking at it. But like I keep saying, and we've done some solar up north, you know. Dr. Jinapor says it all, that, look, the consumption by the rural areas is not an issue that we should even focus on, because it's so negligible. But it's also important that if we can take them off the grid, as the CPP is suggesting, it's not a bad idea. And that is what will create employment. Yeah, I mean, we agree entirely, but it's not going to happen in a day.
Yes.
We have short-term problems that need to be fixed, and that is where we are fixated now. Now with the bonds and what is happening is that, you see, you look at various options. The bond takes some time to come. If you want to hit the road to get a 2 million bond to liquidate, it was an idea. It's not an idea that I believe has been taken off the table completely. But in the short term, when we needed crude, I mean, I'm happy to have read that even they said 400,000 metric tons have arrived and that will be supplying. We must pay for it somehow to be able to get replenishment. So that is the reason why we are now discussing with the banks that, look, be reassured that whatever it is, there is a program. Let's agree on a program to ensure that we can continue running. You run as a bank, we run as a government entity, so that moving forward we would get out of the woods and go. Then all these other things people are saying, we can look at them, and those that need to be brought on board will be brought on board. As for the NPP's proposal, I'm not going to interrogate it, because I think that it is superfluous. It is going to add on to what and I'm surprised it's coming from the NPP. Before any time now we are doing a bill in Parliament and we need to create a state agency, you know, to run. I mean, when we're doing all the other things, they kick against the fact that even establishment of boards, in some cases they think that, look, bringing on new boards and things like that comes at a cost. So I would be surprised that with PURC, with all the other things we have in place, and with the electricity sector restructuring, this is that happening. They want to come and add on another state institution. I think that is a no-no.
Very well, Honourable. Thanks for that. I'll take in some messages from our viewers and listeners, and then we'll move on to the next topic. This one is Oliver Jan from Pokwasi. He says, now this government has failed woefully in the energy sector. We were told all previous governments managed the energy crisis and that President Mahama is going to fix it. In January this year, we were told again that Doomsor has been fixed. Now here we are. Doomsor is still here. Ghanaians will judge with their thumbs come November 7th. Good morning, Abna. Is the appointment of ministers by the President against the provisions of the Constitution of Ghana? The simple answer is no. And so tell Mr. Jantua that since the President acted within the confines of the supreme law of the land, he has nothing to explain to anybody.
You're talking about the timing.
Yes. Abna, people ask that the NPP MP who passed the energy levy and all those taxes that comes with it into law, was he not in Parliament when the bills were brought to be passed into law? Of course, he was there and fully participated in passing bills into law, which have now increased the high cost of bills Ghanaians, including his constituents, are now paying.
Talked about.
Does it lie in the mouth to call someone incompetent? God save Ghanaians. What are those? Good morning, I think Mr. Janapo's submission is avoiding putting responsibility at the doorstep of the ruling government. This is IB. Abna, I'm surprised to hear from a renowned lawyer that parliamentarians who have voted to work for Mother Ghana should be granted 4 months leave to go and campaign, leaving their constitutional duties in Parliament. This should not be coming from him. It says, kudos to the educationist, Dr. Janapo. Good morning, Abna. Ask the NPP man to tell us the alternative they have to solve our energy problems. Everyday incompetent government, please give us a break. Well, I think he pretty much talked about their proposal, which is to set up a statutory body responsible for liquidity management in the energy sector. Well, among others, he says. We will put a break on the messages here,